do want to shift over to the Yankees, whose season, unfortunately for me, I know probably not for you.
Not for me, no.
Yeah, it ended about a week and a half ago now, and we're seeing some moves come into place in all of baseball. You know, the Cardinals, they fired their manager after their early exit. Yankees so far have not done that. I never thought Aaron Boone would be fired. You know, he still could be, but as of right now, the Yankees, it looks like they are going and just shaking things up just a little bit when it comes to that, firing their base coach, Phil Nevin, firing their hitting coach, Marcus Thames, and their assistant hitting coach, Phil Nevin. Like, he's a great locker room guy and everything, but you look at it, the Yankees led baseball, tied with the Royals for the most, guys thrown out at home plate this year, 22. We all remember in the Walker game, shifted any momentum the Yankees had, sending Aaron Judge on that Stanton ball off the wall. Obviously, you're not firing him because of that one move. Yeah. Obviously, a lot goes into that decision, at least I hope.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I would really hope so, that decision was made before that. But anyway, it's interesting to see the Yankees do it. It's interesting to see that Aaron Boone, it looks like, now it's still a little too early, his contract is still not officially up. It does look like, though, Aaron Boone will be back as the Yankees manager.
Yeah, a lot to kind of touch on what you just said. I mean, first off, I would hope Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, whoever, is not firing Phil Nevin because of one decision. I mean, like you mentioned, the Yankees have gotten thrown at the plate a lot this year, so I would guess that it's more about everything that's gone on. If they're firing him just for that one move, that's like what George Steinbrenner and Seinfeld would do. I mean, that's just like a joke. I don't know why they would do it for that. As far as Boone, I mean, yeah, it looks like he's coming back. I mean, the weird thing, of course, is his contract is up, so they have to offer him a new one. That's also a funny thing to me. It's like, Nevin, Marcus Thames, like their contracts are not being renewed. It's like, are we really in a society now where we can't just say like they're fired? Like, come on. I get that they're like their contracts are up, so like we don't have to fire them. But like, come on, they were told to leave. Let's.
They didn't say it with Girardi, and they didn't say it with.
Yeah, it's just like that's just like a little thing that's kind of weird to me. But anyway, bottom line, look. I mean, are you going to get excited about the firing of a third base coach and a hitting coach? I mean, the hitting coach is more substantial because the offense has been terrible all year. I mean, the Yankees finished 19th in runs scored. So, they were going to fire the hitting coach. It made sense. Another interesting thing to note, though, is like Phil Nevin and Aaron Boone are good friends. Like, they had a relationship prior to Boone getting the job. So, like, if I'm Aaron Boone, this is kind of an interesting question. And who knows if this is real or not? I want to hear your thoughts on this. So there was a report that came out, and I don't remember who it was. I think it was maybe it was ESPN. I don't really remember who. It might have been Buster Olney. That said apparently the Padres are interested in Aaron Boone. And if I'm Boone, I think about it like this. I'm here in New York. First of all, he just had major heart surgery. So like maybe avoiding stress is like, a good idea for someone, who just had major heart surgery. You're constantly under attack by the fans in New York. You're under attack by, the media, whatever. You got a team here that's in a make or break situation. The expectations for the Yankees are always astronomically high. And frankly, you have no control over the team. I mean, Brian Cashman does everything. So obviously, look, you're assuming Aaron Boone still wants to be a manager. So you would hope that he probably wants to come back. That being said, if the Padres are legitimately interested in him and he's on a short list, I mean, it's not a guarantee that he would get the job per se. But, he's a California guy. The Padres fan base and media in San Diego is much more welcoming. Maybe you just say to yourself, and frankly, it's debatable. I think they have, it could be argued they have a more talented roster than the Yankees. I'm not going to go there, but they have a very talented roster. So if you're Aaron Boone, the whole talk's been, should the Yankees bring Aaron Boone back? Well, maybe should Aaron Boone go somewhere else? Cardinals are an option too. I think, here in New York, we get caught in the bubble of, we think this guy's good, this guy's bad, whatever. I think outside, even though we zero in on Boone and like are fairly negative of him sometimes, I think outside looking in, you see a guy that's made the playoffs every year. He's been here. You've got to LCS.
600 winning percentage.
Yeah. I mean, maybe another team finds that more appealing. I don't know. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
It's really interesting. You never, and I don't think you never just assume someone would want out as the Yankees manager.
Yeah. I think, I don't want to cut you off, but I think also part of it is, it could also be his agent floating something out there, like the risk that he might leave. So now it kind of puts the Yankees in a spot of, well, now we got to bring him back.
Yeah, no, the report, it was like the Padres' job is Boone's if he wants his. That sounds a little fugazi to me.
Yeah.
I don't really think that's how it works. But I don't think you just leave this job. This Yankees team, like, for as all we're ripping them, it's still a really good roster. The Padres didn't even make the playoffs. They were under 500.
Well, that's what I'm saying. they didn't make the playoffs, but you get a good manager in there, maybe they can. I mean, I was kind of contradicting my own opinion because, I've said it before. I do think managers in baseball are not, are a little overrated. But, I mean, you can also argue, look at Alex Cora, look at Gabe Kapler. And again, you can't really tell me that those managers didn't really
100%.
have an impact on those teams. I've said it before. I said it on the show. I think managers are overrated, but maybe they're not. I don't know. Maybe with a team like the Padres, you get Aaron Boone in there. Maybe that can help. I'm not sure. But, I do also want to say, and, you could chime in on Aaron Boone too when you want to wrap that up. But, we mentioned it in the open. I think the person that needs to be getting more heat right now is Brian Cashman. Because at the end of the day, and this goes to my point about managers not really mattering, Brian Cashman is the guy that puts this team together. Brian Cashman is the guy that makes the lineup. Brian Cashman is the guy that, quote-unquote, develops the players, put them in the farm system, whatever. He makes the trades. He's the guy that assembles the coaching staff. Because if I'm also Aaron Boone, I'm annoyed, like I said, that my friend got fired, and I had no say over that. So, I just, when you're, look, if Brian Cashman was the GM of the Mets, it'd be different. But the thing is, they have not been to a World Series, let alone won a World Series, since 2009. This is a Yankees franchise, 27 World Series. It's all about the titles. It's all about getting to the World Series as often as possible. And look, I understand Brian Cashman's a great GM. He is. I would love for him to be the GM of the Mets. But sometimes, just like with Joe Girardi, when they finally moved on from him, the guy's been here forever. He's done great things for this franchise. If you put GMs in Monument Park, which they don't do, you'd put his name, you would put him in there. But it just, maybe it's the best, and it's not going to happen. He's going to stay. I don't think his job's at stake, at least not this year. But if we could play in a hypothetical world, maybe it's what's best for the Yankees, not only to move on from Aaron Boone. Really, to me, Aaron Boone is just a reflection of Brian Cashman. So, honestly, maybe it's just best to move on from him. That being said, who are you going to replace him with, though?
Yeah, I think you could look at it as a chain reaction. Phil Nevin, we could look at, starting all the way there. He sent a lot of guys because he knew the offense wasn't very good. And the Yankees weren't very good because Brian Cashman didn't give them a good enough team. And then does that go another step? Well, Hal Steinbrenner would limit him with what he wanted to spend. You could look at that. Like if Hal Steinbrenner's not letting Brian Cashman go over the luxury tax, how much blame can you put on Brian Cashman? Like, he's in a bad situation. What are you going to do about it? You look at what they did at the deadline, having to trade Luis Sessa, who was, one of their best relievers, under 3 RA for the year, was great in Cincinnati. And it was basically, they traded him to offload Justin Wilson's horrible contract. The Yankees are never a team that should, and the contract too was like $4 million.
That's a Will Ponzian move right there.
Yeah, and that was one where, it really made me scratch my head. Brian Cashman said the whole time too that Hal Steinbrenner was willing to go over the luxury tax. Well, no, he wasn't. He didn't pick up any of Rizzo or Gallo's salary. He definitely wasn't willing to go above it. So I think that's interesting. You look at it, this team needs to make a lot of changes. I don't think firing Aaron Boone does anything to move the needle. I'm a proponent to bring him back. We talk about how much say does he really have. There was a report, I think I already talked about it, Brendan Cuddy, said that the Yankees are trying to bring in someone to help push.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, to push the players, and I think, that's literally what Aaron Boone's job as a manager really is for this team, because he's not making the lineups. Those are made on Scantrons there. He has the relationship with the players. They really like him. He's a great guy, everything like that. So that's nice. I just don't think, I don't put the blame on him for Garrett Cole not having it in the wild card. I don't put the blame on him for DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres, Gio Urshela, all regressing. I don't really, Gary Sanchez, I don't put the blame on him, Luke Voigt getting hurt. I just don't think that firing him fixes those things. I think it's an organizational approach. Hitting coach certainly is very enticing. If you bring in a guy who can change up Gleyber Torres' game, where 2 years ago he was hitting 38 homers.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Gleyber is just put him at second base. I think that's honestly.
He hit a lot better.
I think it was all mental, to be honest. Baseball. What's the Yogi quote? Like, baseball is like 50% physical, 90% mental, or something like that. The simple fact is, you can give someone all the hitting instruction as long as you want, but if mentally they're not, they're struggling mentally, they're not going to accomplish anything. I think moving to second was a huge thing for Gleyber. And when we're talking about the future of the Yankees, you mentioned Gleyber Torres. There's been talk of, and again, maybe this is something Brian Cashman has to do to show that he's committed to putting a winner on the field. We mentioned signing a shortstop. There's been talk of maybe just trading Gleyber and seeing what happens. Play Gio at third, play DJ at second, because DJ's getting older now. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. And look, I don't really care if they trade him. I'm not a Yankee fan, but is that something the Yankees need to do this offseason? Aside from maybe bringing in a new manager or keeping Boone, I think they're going to keep Boone, and I think, like you said, I don't think changing it would have moved the needle at all. Also, while I think maybe moving on from Cashman would be good, they're not going to do it. So when we look at what is going to happen, it's going to be roster moves. So is a trade of Gleyber Torres something you would consider?
Absolutely not.
All right.
I'm not trading a 24-year-old with 3 years left of friendly team control. I'm just not doing it.
What do you get for him?
While selling him at his lowest point, though.